Hi everyone, it's Kristen. So today we're talking about this issue, which is the last issue in the Fall of the Mutants storyline. We're also going to talk a little bit about the aftermath of the Fall of the Mutants, but not that much. I mean, this is the bulk of it. And when I was going back through these, looking, to get all the comics that pertain to the Fall of the Mutants, I noticed something. Like I just recently bought this action figure from someone, and like look at this. Doesn't she look almost exactly like she does on the cover? I mean, she has the double belts, and she has the vest and the choker, gloves, I mean, and the hair. I'm pretty sure that originally this was, the Mohawk Storm. But I really honestly, I mean, she even has, the storm earrings like I'm wearing today. I, okay, I've never liked the Mohawk look on Storm. I always liked her big, beautiful flowing like goddess hair, I will call it. Um, but yeah, I just thought that was really funny that this almost looks exactly like this. So I just wanted to, share that with you. So, okay, let's get into it. So we see the X-Men in the middle of a hologram of Vietnam trying to, dodge the competing armies and the demons. And we see Maddie stumbling upon Forge in the holograms. And he's in the middle of what looks like, his fallen comrades, his fallen unit, and she sees shapes coming out of their bodies. And she's like, what's going on? So this is the moment reading this comic book where I was like, whoa, I I I can't believe that they did that. I can't believe that like that they chose to go there with that. I mean, it's just one of those moments that kind of makes your jaw drop. So she witnesses what happened in Vietnam 10 years ago, and why Forge vowed to never use his powers again. So he was so stricken with grief that he took the souls from his friends' bodies, used them as a sacrifice to open up this portal, called forth demons to slaughter the Vietnamese soldiers that slaughtered his friends. And then, if that's not enough, he calls in an airstrike on the area to destroy like the demons and destroy all the evidence of what he has done. Which, I mean, think about that for a second. He stole his friend's souls to open this portal in order to exact revenge, and then he destroyed any evidence of it, destroyed his friends' bodies as well, so that they couldn't, be sent home, couldn't have a funeral. Their families couldn't, I mean, basically just desecrated his friends in order to have his vengeance. I mean, he was just blind, like with rage at that moment. I mean, it still is like, whoa, like it's just unbelievable, like that they went there. Like I said, when I first read this, I was like, holy cow, are you kidding me? I cannot believe he would do that. So, okay, anyway, sorry, I gotta calm down. So we come back to the adversary, and now Storm and Forge are captured along with Roma. And he says to them, you could have been the soul spirits, the caretakers of this new world that I created just for you. Like, why would you come back? And Storm's like, um, my life is devoted to the defense of this earth, which, with the new Karakoa era and her being, you know, split between Karakoa and Mars, you kind of think, well, Like, it just, I mean, that era just, to me, like, the X-Men just felt so different than how they used to be. But I won't go into that because we need to finish this. But it just, they just didn't feel like the X-Men to me. I don't know. I mean, yes, the X-Men deserve, peace and happiness and, but they made themselves like an island to themselves and they were, basically only concerned about themselves, which doesn't, to me sound like Xavier's dream of peaceful coexistence. But of course, Xavier was right there with him, so I don't know. I'm kind of glad, even though the stories were super interesting and so different than anything they've done, I'm kind of glad that it will be over soon, like this summer. Just because it just didn't feel like the X-Men to me. Even though the stories were really cool and really interesting and different, it still didn't feel like the X-Men to me. So, okay, anyway, sorry. Back to this. So, and the adversary's teasing Broma, like, you know, now I've captured your champions, so you've lost the battle, basically. And she has this glint in her eyes saying, we'll see. Like, you don't know everything yet. So Neil's still filming, and Wolverine's like, get that camera out of my face. And Neil's like, this is your chance, for the world to see you as heroes, to see, all the good you do. And Havoc's like, sounds good to me. And it's long overdue. So they try the direct approach to the Citadel because they know that Storm and Forge are there because Psylocke sensed them. And a rogue tried it and she immediately got shot back down. So Dazzler, who comes up with this harebrained scheme, like one of the most harebrained schemes I've ever heard of, she thinks that they should use the wind and with the wind use Longshot, whose bones are hollow, as a kite to guide them to the Citadel. Like they'll hang along on a rope behind him, like kites, like strings on a kite. And since he's incredibly lucky, this might work. I mean, does that just sound like one of the, craziest plans you've ever heard? So, the reporter asks, Maddie, why is she there, basically? Because, she's not a mutant. And she says, you think only mutants can, believe in this, in their dream? He's like, what are you talking about? She's like, to echo Martin Luther King, a world where people are judged on the content of their character instead of the color of their skin or their race or their powers. Like, we're all humans. Why can't we all be treated as such? I won't live to see that because, of course, all the X-Men are, going to die according to destiny. But it would be nice if my son, and then she hesitates and says, and my husband, it'd be nice if they could see that. So the harebrained scheme of the kite works, and they get to the Citadel. And Longshot hits the adversary with his blades that are made of iron, and it like hurts the adversary in a way. And then Wolverine, realizing that metal hurts the adversary, goes after him. Oh, and in that image too, I forgot. Rogue, of course, she tries to drain, his essence. In her true fashion, she uses a kiss and she never gets to kiss. So if she's absorbing someone's powers, she's usually in the comics kissing them. Of course, she couldn't really do that in the animated series. She did with Cyclops, but you know what I mean. That'd be weird if you had Rogue going around kissing everybody. But of course, she didn't really absorb that many powers in the original animated series. In X-Men Evolution, she absorbed like a lot of powers. Anyway, sorry. So Colossus, realizing that metal hurts him, wonders, okay, what will my form of living steel do against him? So he punches through him and basically makes the adversary reveal his true form. And he is just delighted because he realized that Roma has tricked the trickster, and she has sent in a ringer, because Colossus made out of metal hurts him. And so Rogue, who absorbed Forge's mentor's essence, she also absorbed his knowledge and, power of magic. So she opens the gateway to send him back, the adversary, but she realizes she can't sustain it. She can't, because of course her powers and knowledge will fade. And even if she could, she realizes that Forge's mentor wasn't even strong enough to do this, and that it has to be Forge. And the X-Men hit the adversary with all their powers, like all their might, but their powers are physical, and he's not, so it doesn't really do anything. So she says, Forge has to be the one, and he's like, I can't do it, no. And the adversary is, um, goading him, saying, well, are you going to basically, you can't or you won't, or are you going to, due to your vanity or your sense of, what did he say? Oh, your shame, are you going to let the world be destroyed? So Forge confesses what he did, what they already know, that he used his friends' spirits without their knowledge, without their consent, to open and okay. I'll just have to flip through the rest of the book then, since I lost some of my pages, my page markers. So he says, he used his friend's essence without their knowledge and consent to open the portal to call forth the demons, and the only way to seal it is if life essences are freely given, which means all the X-Men would die, but the adversary would be sealed away forever. And Storm says, I understand. She's like, until we meet again. And he says, we never will. And she's like, not necessarily. For such as we, my love, anything is possible. And Wolverine says, the newshound is what he called him, the cameraman, he's not part of this. And Forge is like, I'll take him with me. And Wolverine's like, well, Maddie's not part of this either. And Forge says, I'm sorry, but she has to be in the spell. There were 9 souls used, so 9 souls in the original spell, so 9 souls have to be used in this spell. And Maddie says, I expected as much. She turns to the camera and says, Scotty, I love you. Find our son. I wish you all the best. Find our son, raise him well, take care of him, keep him safe. I love you. Goodbye. Which is kind of sad. I mean, like, I don't even know if he watched that or saw that, because of course he's so enamored that Jean came back that he just didn't even care about, Maddie and their son anymore. That just like I've never liked him as a character because of that, like because of what he did. And then, there's other things that happen also after that, but definitely that is the start of where I'm like, well, Cyclops is kind of a jerk. Because he just left his wife and child, just left him, no explanation, never reached back out, even when their child was kidnapped. Like, just didn't care at all, even with his wife was laying in a coma. Anyway, sorry, off track. So Forge takes the life essence of all the X-Men and then combines it into like a miniature star almost. And then Neil says, cameraman, and just like that, it's over. And Forge says, and just like before, the price isn't worth the cost. It's not worth the victory. And they added this in. This is kind of sad, like the aftermath. Kitty is watching the whole thing on TV and she sees the X-Men die. And Nightcrawler, he woke up from his coma because he also suffered injuries from facing the Marauders. And she just clings to him and says, it's the worst news ever. So Forge walks out of there Oh, yeah, I meant to. Oh, well, never mind. It's on the next page too. So, Forge walks out of there with Neil, and Mystique says, "Murderer, like, it should have been you. Like, why didn't you use, your soul? Why did you kill them?" Because, of course, Neil's been broadcasting this whole time, so they saw what happened. Everyone did. And he's like, was I couldn't be part of the spell. I was casting the spell. And she calls him a murderer again. And then what happens is Roma brings the X-Men back. And Storm is like, did it not work? Okay, so this is what I was talking about because I forgot to point out earlier. Do you see what she's wearing? She's wearing the outfit that it looks like the outfit that Forge's mentor, well, that, gave her in. It looks like she's wearing the outfit that her Forge's mentor, like a variation of the outfit that he gave her. Which that's not what she was wearing necessarily when they were caught up and returned, but maybe she was. But it's definitely not what she's wearing like on this cover. So if were expecting Storm to be in that outfit that's on the cover, she was not in that outfit ever in this issue. So anyway, Roman brings them back, and Storm's like, "Well, I don't understand. How are we alive? Did it not work?" And Roma says, "Unfortunately, the adversary cannot be held forever. He is chaos, and from chaos comes growth, and from growth comes change. And the universe needs him, even though, as foul and as cruel as he is. So he will be locked away for a time, but he can't be locked away forever. So as, a reward for your sacrifice, like you're entitled to, whatever you want. Like I can send you back to the moment that you were taken to live out the rest of your life. I can send you to any era, any reality, basically any place you want to go. And Storm decides, because she's been trying all along to come up with what she calls Plan Omega, to fake the X-Men's deaths so they can work more in the shadows, so that you know people, different bad guys, don't see them coming, don't know that they're alive, so they can work more efficiently, more effectively, and also that way their loved ones won't suffer. They won't get caught in the crossfires. And she said it seems like this is the solution to that plan. And after a little bit of grumbling from some of the others, they all agree that this is for the best, that the X-Men remain dead, that the world thinks that they're dead. And she's like, "I salute you, X-Men, for you were heroes and now you became legends." Okay, so what did you guys think about that? Like, what did you think of that revelation of what Forge did and what had to happen? I mean, it just like I said, when I first read this, it just blew me away. I was like, what just happened? Like of course you see that this, and then you see, kind of along those lines building to Inferno, where it's more about like demons and things that just seemed unheard of in X-Men comics before, like the whole sacrificing of Nathan, like sacrificing a baby. I mean, even though the X-Men comics were never dark, they started to get more dark, if that makes sense. So this is just basically, I just wanted to touch on a couple things that happened after this. So I just wanted to show you this headline. So everyone thinks the world is dead, and this was just Oz Chase, a friend of Dazzler's, who really only appeared in 5 issues of the Dazzler series. And this issue, this is basically she wrote him a letter that he was reading, recounting one of their one of their adventures, like her, Wolverine, um, Oz, and his dog Cerberus. And he was rereading that because of what happened to Dazzler. And some people in the bar are like, good riddance, and he's like, my dog has a nasty temper, so you better, you better raise your glass in a toast. And so all the people in the bar do to Dazzler and the X-Men. So I just thought that was, so basically, like I said, we are not going to go into this story, but I just wanted you to see, the headline. And then this one is basically how they end up in the outback, in the Australian outback. So what the Reavers have been doing, they have used Gateway, who can teleport, to go all over, basically commit their crimes, and then they can disappear without a trace. Wreaking havoc, murdering people, it doesn't matter. They don't care. So what the X-Men do, they find them, they restrain them, and now they're like, now what are we supposed to do with them? Like, because they can't go to prison, because no prison will hold them. And Wolverine's like, well, we should just kill them all. They weren't worried about killing innocent people, so why should we be? And Storm's like, because we're not them. Actually, Psylocke said the Reavers showed no mercy, why should we? Which is surprising for Psylocke, that Psylocke anyway. So Roma appears and says there is another option. And this is where she gives them the Siege Perilous. And she says they can walk through here and be judged on their deeds. And, their deeds will be, the good and ill of their lives are weighed in the cosmic balance. And they're born again, given a second chance to redeem themselves. So Storm gives the Reavers their choice. She says, you can either pick the Siege Perilous or Wolverine, who said we should just kill them all. And of course, all the Reavers pick going through the siege. So, and then Roma says, you are now guardians of the Siege Perilous. Like, I leave it in your hands, and it's also an option for you guys if you ever want to walk through it, if you ever want to, have that option for yourselves. And the X-Men say, well, our work here isn't done. Like, we still have so much to do here that, thank you, but we're going to pass. And she said, well, just, you are now the keepers of the Siege Perilous. This is the first time mortals have been, basically it's an honor, and one that hasn't been bestowed in 1,000 years. She also tells them that since they died and were born again, they are, they can't be seen by like anything other than the naked eye and the electronic systems that are at their new house, the Reavers Mansion, that they have taken over. Like, no other electronics, no scientific methods, no magical methods, no spells, no enchantments, no powers can see them. Only the naked eye and the electronics that are, at their mansion, out their base now. And she's like, I leave you now because I, of course, am very busy attending to the Omniverse. So this will be the last time you see me. So I thought that was interesting that they also made that a part of, the X-Men story where now no one can see them, which also I bet, of course came in handy. But of course then most of the X-Men went through the Siege Perilous and of course lost that, that ability. It couldn't last forever though, just like any X-Men storyline, nothing lasts forever. But I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope it was informative, and now like I said, I don't know exactly how they're going to play out, the adversary and that storyline in X-Men 97, but this is how it plays out in the comic books. So, and I'm almost pretty much 100% sure that Storm will get her powers back in some way. I just don't know exactly like how all this is going to play out because, of course, so far it only involves Forge and Storm. It might be where it's like a kind of like where Forge's mentor, add the adversary in disguise, put Storm through test of sorts. Since it said in the description, Storm has to face, her greatest fears and her demons. It might be like a test of some sorts where Storm has to go through it, and at the end of that test, she finds her powers. Possible. We'll find out in about 2 weeks. So until next time. Oh, and thanks for watching. And if you've subscribed, thank you. And also, okay, so X-Men 97 has kept me kind of busy, so I haven't really done as much on my mansion. I've been doing like these kind of videos instead. So I haven't done anything else on my mansion yet, but it's coming. So I hope you will subscribe and join me in the future for those videos. And until next time, bye.